Have you ever walked away from a conversation completely unharmed on the outside, but deep down, it felt like your soul had just been crushed? You couldn't quite name what just happened, only that something felt off, like your emotions had been turned against you by someone who never even raised their voice. If that feeling sounds familiar, there's a chance. You've just been in the presence of a narcissist without even realizing it. They don't need to yell. They don't need to insult you in public. What they do is much more subtle. They twist your emotions until you start doubting your own mind. And the worst part? They do it all with chilling precision. Narcissists are masters of silent manipulation. They can make you feel guilty just for saying no. They plant thoughts in your head that you're selfish, too sensitive, or just not good enough. And somehow, you, the one trying to protect your dignity, end up being the one who feels like the problem. This isn't just a disagreement. This is an emotional control pattern, Shanna, repeated until you no longer trust your own feelings. But what if I told you there's one question, asked at the right moment, that can rip the mask off? One simple sentence, powerful enough to make them drop the act. A question that forces them to confront their own behavior and exposes the truth behind it. We'll get to that question in just a moment. But first, you need to understand something essential. Dealing with narcissists isn't just about psychology. It's a philosophical journey. The truth is, people have been dealing with toxic personalities for thousands of years. Marcus Aurelius, the Stoic emperor of ancient Rome, once wrote, "When you wake up in the morning, tell yourself, 'Today I will meet people who are deceitful, arrogant, jealous, and selfish.'" He didn't write that to be negative. He wrote it to prepare his mind, to stay grounded, to not overreact, and to protect his inner peace no matter how others behaved. That's the heart of Stoic philosophy. You can't control other people, but you can always control how you respond. And that's your greatest weapon when facing a narcissist. In this video, you're not just going to learn how to expose a narcissist with one cutting question. You'll learn how to see through the fog of manipulation, stay anchored in your self-worth, and most importantly, reclaim control over your emotions, your voice, and your energy. Because in the end, you can't change who someone is. But you can absolutely change how much power you give them over your life. So let me ask you one last thing. Are you ready? Part 2. Unmasking the narcissist. When manipulation becomes their second nature. Not everyone who's selfish is a narcissist. But if you notice someone repeatedly acting in a way that makes them always right, always the victim, and you're constantly the one feeling guilty, you may be dealing with someone far more dangerous than you think. Let's be clear about one thing. A narcissist isn't just someone with a big ego or poor manners. They're someone with a deeply ingrained behavioral pattern centered around controlling other people's emotions to protect a grandiose image of themselves. They don't talk to understand you. They talk to test your boundaries. They don't need love. They need admiration, obedience, and the spotlight. So what exactly makes a narcissist different? Most narcissists share 3 psychological roots that shape the way they see the world. 1. They believe they're special above others. They carry an inflated sense of self, always assuming they deserve easier treatment, more forgiveness, and better conditions. They don't believe the rules apply to them. 2. They lack genuine empathy. They can pretend to care, but only when it serves them. When confronted with real emotional pain from others, their instinct is to avoid, deflect, or minimize it. 3. They fear being ordinary. Deep down, they're terrified of being average or unimportant, so they manipulate, perform, and walk over others to maintain the illusion of being superior, the most subtle and dangerous tactics of a narcissist. If you've ever been close to someone like this, chances are you've experienced things like 1. Gaslighting, making you doubt yourself. This is their signature psychological weapon. They'll say one thing today, deny it tomorrow. "I never said that." They'll make you question your memory, your emotions, and eventually your sanity. Example, you confront them for repeatedly being late. They respond, "You're always so dramatic, everyone's busy." A single sentence and suddenly you stop asking for basic respect. 2. Role reversal. They're the victim, you're the problem. When you express how hurt you are, they won't apologize. Instead, they twist the conversation until you're the one to blame. You, "It really hurt when you spoke to me like that." Them, I'm exhausted. You're always criticizing. You never understand me. Now you're the cold, uncaring one, while they, twistedly, become the wounded party. 3. The invisible power game. With them, every interaction becomes a silent competition. Who controls the conversation? And who decides when things get warm or distant? Who holds the power to make the other feel guilty? They might emotionally ghost you for days with no explanation. Then just as you start to pull away, they reappear, sweet, affectionate, as if nothing ever happened. That's not love, that's a strategy. What should you do when you start to see this? Stoic philosophy doesn't teach us to fight emotion with more emotion. It teaches us to observe without reacting, to see clearly, not idealize blindly. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "The behavior of others is their own. Your response reflects who you are." Once you begin to recognize their pattern, you stop internalizing their actions. You no longer ask, "What did I do wrong?" You start to see, this is how they treat everyone, not just me. Why does this matter so much? Because if you're not careful, you begin to adjust to their world. You start justifying the unreasonable. You accept relationships where respect is a privilege, not a baseline. You get used to apologizing for having emotions. And worst of all, you start forgetting who you are. Ask yourself honestly, when was the last time you felt truly heard? Are you constantly walking on eggshells, afraid of triggering their reaction? Are you in a relationship where you're always the one who has to change? If the answer is yes, you are not alone. And more importantly, you are not wrong. You are being manipulated. Stoic wisdom, your map. Out of the emotional fog. Philosophy isn't just for ancient books or scholars. It's something you carry with you to protect yourself from the games of others. Epictetus once said, "But if someone can provoke you, realize your mind is complicit in the provocation." Harsh. Maybe. But in truth, it's freedom, because when you stay calm, the narcissist loses power. When you stop explaining, stop begging, stop falling into emotional traps, their entire manipulation system begins to collapse. Your greatest weapon is not words, it's awareness. When they get angry, you stay grounded. When they blame, you don't rush to fix it. When they test, you don't react, you don't chase, you don't flee. You don't explode, you simply stand still, observe. Understand. And in that awareness, you've already won. You can't control them, but you can master yourself. Narcissists don't change. They don't want to, because they don't think they're the problem. But you can see the pattern. You can learn, adapt, and most importantly, you can walk away. In the next part, we'll dive into the one powerful question, a calm, non-confrontational line that leaves them with no way to dodge. And that's when the mask finally falls. Are you ready for that? Part 3, the one question that exposes a narcissist and why they can't answer it honestly. They lie, but somehow make you feel like the one at fault. They hurt you, but you end up apologizing. You set boundaries, and they make you feel guilty for doing so. This is the world of the narcissist, a place where truth is distorted, emotions are exploited, and control is the game they always win. But what they don't expect is this. Sometimes, a single, well-placed question can collapse their entire system of manipulation. One simple question that forces them to face themselves. The question is, can you explain why your needs always matter more than mine? Or, alternatively, how do you feel when you ignore my boundaries just to satisfy your own desires? Why is this question so powerful? Because it doesn't attack. It doesn't blame. It doesn't provoke. It simply exposes a truth that they cannot answer without revealing their real self. A healthy person, when faced with this question, might pause, reflect, and recognize that they've unintentionally hurt someone. But a narcissist, their reaction usually falls into one of 3 predictable patterns. 1. Anger and defensiveness. They feel challenged, exposed. And they can't tolerate that. You might hear lines like, "Oh, so now you're playing the victim?" Typical overthinking. You're just trying to blame me because you can't handle your emotions. This anger isn't because you're wrong. It's because you've touched the nerve they try hardest to hide, their inflated ego. 2. Complete denial. They pretend the issue doesn't exist, or worse, They make you question your reality. I never did that. You're making things up. You're just being too sensitive. This is classic gaslighting, a manipulative tactic designed to confuse and disempower you. 3. Playing the victim. Instead of answering the question, they flip the script. I can't believe you think that of me. I've done everything for you and this is how you see me? Do you have any idea how stressed I am? Suddenly you, who asked a simple, reasonable question, become the cold, ungrateful one. Why can't they answer honestly? Because to answer truthfully would mean they have to. Acknowledge their selfishness. Admit they don't care about your emotions. Drop the caring and kind mask they've built. For a narcissist, maintaining their image is more important than any truth. And this question threatens that image in a way they can't manage. So what should you do when they dodge the question? Most important of all, don't engage in an argument. You don't need them to admit anything. You don't need them to change. You only need to observe their reaction, because it says everything. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "The best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury." You don't need loud words to expose manipulation. Your calm silence is often the loudest truth. Stand firm. No explaining. No justifying. A narcissist isn't listening to your explanation. They're scanning it for weak points, something they can flip back on you. So instead of saying, "I'm saying this because I feel hurt," they'll interrupt. "See, you're always negative." Say this instead, "I just need to understand why my boundaries don't matter to you." Short, clear. Emotionless. No space for them to twist it. Is this question meant to change them? No, absolutely not. This question is not meant to wake them up, make them apologize, get them to suddenly see the light. This question is for you, to help you see them clearly, without illusion, without the mask. Once you see that truth, you'll know what you need to do. They may lash out, deny, or deflect, but you won't react, because truth doesn't need noise to be real. Their reaction is the answer. And when you dare to ask, to observe, to stay calm, you step off the board where they've always played puppet master. In the next chapter, we'll explore how to set unshakable boundaries, using Stoic philosophy as your guide. Not just to protect yourself, but to rebuild your sense of self that they've tried to tear down. Are you ready to stop being controlled? You don't need to scream to be heard. You don't need to prove you're right. You just need to stand still with quiet strength. Seneca once said, "The strongest person is not the one who shouts loudest, but the one who remains calm when others lose control." Your first step today, listen to their answer or their silence. The way they avoid the question will reveal more than any apology ever could. No emotional reactions. Each time you stay calm, they lose just a little more control over you. You don't need their acknowledgement to validate your worth. You know you deserve respect. Take quiet action. Withdraw your energy. Limit your access. Hold your line. They will feel it. And your silence will speak louder than any confrontation ever could. Part 4. Setting boundaries with a narcissist. Not to change them, but to protect yourself. You've asked the question. You've observed the reaction. And now you know they're not ready or not capable of facing the truth. So what's the next step? It's not arguing. It's not fixing a broken relationship. It's learning how to set firm boundaries, like an emotional fence that no one can cross. Boundaries are not threats. They are acts of self-respect. Boundaries are a declaration to the world and to yourself. I respect myself enough not to accept being mistreated. For a narcissist, your boundaries strip away the tools they use to manipulate you. So naturally, they'll try everything to fight back, convincing you you're too sensitive, playing the victim, threatening to leave if you keep acting like this. And you must be ready for all of it. A boundary is useless if you don't hold it. Many people know how to say no, but then they explain, apologize, compromise. And the boundary quickly becomes just empty words. A true boundary means saying, "I will end this conversation if you raise your voice," and then actually walking away when it happens. The Stoic doesn't let emotions lead them. They don't react in anger or try to teach someone a lesson. They simply act in alignment with their values. As Seneca wrote, "We cannot control others, only our reaction to them." Applying this to your relationship with a narcissist means not explaining things that are already clear, not responding to guilt tripping, not trying to win arguments, just holding your ground silently and with self-respect. Examples of boundaries you can apply. Time. I don't take calls after 10 p.m. Space. I need weekends to myself, no explanations. Emotion. I won't receive criticism that isn't constructive. Money. I don't offer financial support without clear terms. Communication. If you speak to me with contempt, I'll leave the room. And when a boundary is crossed, you don't need to get angry. You just follow through, calmly and firmly. Narcissists will test your limits. You must be mentally prepared. Here are common tactics they'll use and how to respond like a Stoic. 1. Emotional attack. You've changed. Now you only care about yourself. Stoic response. I'm learning to respect myself. That's not selfish. 2. Threats. If this continues, I'm not sure this relationship can survive. Stoic response. I won't force anyone to stay. But I won't abandon my values to keep them either. 3. Playing the hurt one. I can't believe how cold you've become. Stoic response. Calm doesn't mean cold. It's how I protect myself. What happens when you uphold your boundary? At first, it will be hard. You may feel guilty. You may fear losing them. You may be called heartless, difficult, or even cruel. But over time, you'll sleep better. You'll stop explaining yourself so much. You'll feel more free. And most importantly, you'll start remembering who you were before the control. Boundaries are the foundation of self-worth. Many people don't set boundaries because they fear abandonment. But ask yourself, do I really want to keep someone who only stays when I let them hurt me? When you dare to say no, when you stand firm in your truth, you're not just protecting yourself, you're sending a message to yourself that you deserve respect. As Epictetus once said, no one can harm you unless you allow them. So, what if they react negatively? And they may leave, they may criticize, they may find someone else to manipulate, and you must understand that is a blessing. Because the departure of someone who refuses to respect your boundaries is not a loss. It is freedom. 3 steps to maintain firm boundaries with a narcissist. 1. Clarity. First with yourself. Define your boundaries and your why. Not to justify to them, but so you don't fold under pressure. 2. Consistency. No anger needed. Be firm in action. No yelling. No defense. Just unshakable calm, like a mountain in a storm. 3. No expectation of change. You're not setting boundaries to change them. You're doing it because you respect yourself. An ending isn't always a tragedy. Some relationships will end once you begin honoring yourself. But understand this. Every time you refuse to be manipulated, you are telling the world and yourself, I am worthy of being treated with respect. In the next part, we'll talk about healing from narcissistic emotional damage and how Stoic philosophy helps you rebuild your inner worth that you thought was lost forever. You deserve respect, not because you're perfect, but because you are a human being with limits, with emotions, with the right to peace. If you're ready to step out of their control, keep going. Don't look back out of pity. Look forward out of self-liberation. Part 5. Healing after narcissistic abuse. The journey back to yourself. You've set your boundaries. You've accepted the truth. That person will never change. And maybe you've walked away, but why does the emptiness still linger? Because the wound from a narcissist isn't just a surface cut. It's a slow erosion, day by day, on your very sense of self. They made you doubt your reality, made you feel guilty for things you didn't do, made you apologize for being hurt, made you feel that asking for respect was asking too much. Healing from a narcissist isn't like healing from a regular breakup. You didn't just lose a person. You lost the most honest version of yourself, buried under layers of gaslighting, blame, and emotional manipulation. Step 1 in healing, admit that you were hurt. Many people toughen up and say they're fine. They move on like nothing happened. But the silence inside still screams. You need the courage to say, I was hurt, Not because I'm weak, but because I loved, I trusted, and I gave my heart sincerely. Only when you face that truth can healing begin. Stoicism doesn't deny emotions. It understands them. A common misconception is Stoics are cold, numb, or emotionless, but Marcus Aurelius, Epictetus, and Seneca never told you to shut off your heart. They taught, don't let emotions control your actions. But don't deny the emotions that are present. So if you feel angry for being betrayed, sad for being abandoned, ashamed you didn't see the manipulation earlier, then allow yourself to feel, not suppress. Just don't let those emotions define who you are, forever. Your wound is real, but it is not you. Narcissists are skilled at making you feel like you are the problem. You're too sensitive. You're the reason the relationship failed, but understand this, you may not be perfect. But the pain you endured was never what you deserved. Stoic philosophy reminds you, we cannot control what others do to us, but we can always control how we respond and what we choose next. Let the pain shape your wisdom, not your identity. Healing isn't a straight line, it's a cycle. You may find yourself missing them even though you know they were toxic. Wondering, what if I had tried harder? Tempted to call, text, or seek closure. That's human. You loved, you hoped. You tried, but what you need most now isn't more answers from them. It's a new promise to yourself, I will not return to what broke me. Things the narcissist took, and you must reclaim your inner voice. You used to know when you were tired, hurt, or needed space, but they made you feel guilty for listening to yourself. Healing. Learn to trust your instincts again. Journal, meditate. Listen to your body. Your self-worth. Their criticism disguised as concern made you feel never good enough. Healing. Write down what you've accomplished. Who valued you, what you believe in, your ability to trust. Now you fear opening up. You fear everyone might be like them. Healing. Rebuild trust slowly, not in others first, but in your own ability to discern truth. Practicing Stoicism in daily healing. Here are tools you can use every day. Stoic journaling. Each evening ask yourself, what made me feel strong today? What emotion stood out and how did I respond? Anchor quotes. Example, it's not things that hurt us but our judgments about them. Epictetus. Post. This on your mirror, your phone, anywhere you'll see it often. Intentional silence. Not to avoid, but to regain your calm. A day without reacting to drama is a day you reclaimed your power. As you begin to heal, you won't feel happy right away. But you'll notice a quiet peace when you wake up, relief from not guessing if they'll be warm or cold today, a slow return to your real self. That's the ultimate win, not making the narcissist regret, but no longer letting them control you, even in your mind. If you're wondering, will I ever feel normal again? Remember this. The old normal wasn't working, and the new you is being formed, stronger, clearer, and not so easily manipulated. Seneca once wrote, only what is fragile must hide, but a resilient mind stands firm even in storms. Summary, 5 steps to healing after narcissistic abuse. 1. Acknowledge the hurt. Don't deny. Don't numb. 2. Separate your self-worth from their opinions. You are not what they projected. 3. Learn to feel again. Accept, observe, don't resist. 4. Practice Stoicism daily. Journal, quotes, mindful silence. 5. Be patient. Healing has no deadline, only commitment. You were once manipulated. You once doubted yourself. You once forgot what it meant to be you. But today you're reading this, and that's proof. You're coming back. Not to the old version, but to a stronger self who knows better, sees clearer, and lets no one define your worth. In the final part, we'll explore how to never fall for a narcissist again, how to detect the subtle signs early, and how to guard your peace with both awareness and stoic wisdom. You don't just deserve peace. You deserve a life where you no longer have to fear the ones closest to you. Part 6. Never fall into a narcissist's trap again. Spot the red flags early. You've walked away from a painful relationship. You've gone through the healing process. full of tears, but also full of clarity. Now, the biggest question is, how do you make sure it never happens again? Because here's the harsh truth. A narcissist never shows up wearing a warning sign. They walk into your life with charm, humor, soul-deep connection, and promises that sound too good to be true. And before you realize it, you're caught in their web. But this time, you won't fall for it. How to recognize a narcissist. From the subtle clues. 1. They're overly charming right from the start. From the very first meeting, something feels magical. They seem to see you, hear you, understand you in ways no one else has. But this instant soulmate energy, that's your first red flag. Narcissists are masters at mirroring you, not truly connecting. They observe you to later use your traits to manipulate and gain control. Be wary of anything that feels too perfect and too fast or too intense. 2. They rush to become part of your life. Within a week, they're saying, "I love you." Within 2, they want to meet your family. They say things like, "I've never felt this way before. You're everything I've been searching for. We're one." This is what's called love bombing, an emotional ambush disguised as affection. It's not real connection. It's calculated overwhelm. True love isn't overwhelming. It doesn't rush. It grows steadily. 3. The first time you set a boundary, they push back. Think back. The first time you said no to something small, how did they react? A narcissist typically acts offended, makes you feel guilty for saying no, suggests you're selfish or insensitive. Example, you say you're too tired to meet up tonight. They reply, "So you're like everyone else after all." They don't respect boundaries. They test how far you'll bend. 4. They talk about themselves a lot, but rarely go deep. Yes, they'll share stories, past traumas, even show vulnerability. But when you ask deeper questions, they dodge. When you speak, they redirect the focus. The truth? They're not sharing, they're performing. They don't seek connection, they seek admiration. 5. Your emotions are dismissed, gently but consistently. You say you're hurt, they say you're overreacting. You're angry, they laugh. You're kind of cute when you're mad. You express something serious. They brush it off. Relax. Why so intense? Eventually, you stop expressing emotions altogether. This is soft manipulation. It makes you doubt yourself. How Stoicism helps you spot and block narcissists. Stoicism doesn't teach paranoia. It teaches awareness and deliberate response over emotional reaction. Here are 3 Stoic tools to build your emotional radar. 1. Pause before reacting. Epictetus taught, between stimulus and response, there is a space, and in that space lies your freedom. Before you fall for sweet words, pause and ask, what am I really feeling right now? Is something quietly bothering me? Is this connection or idealization? 2. Ask, who is gaining more from this conversation? Narcissists are experts at making you feel deeply seen while extracting admiration, energy, and validation. After every conversation, ask yourself, do I feel energized or drained? Am I allowed to speak or always being evaluated? Is this mutual or lopsided? If you feel small around them, that's a red flag. 3. Act from values, not fleeting emotions. A Stoic always asks, does this action align with who I strive to be? If you have to trade your self-respect to maintain a connection, you're betraying yourself. Don't let your longing for love override your standards for safety. Build an emotional immune system against manipulation. Here are simple but powerful practices to keep your mind clear and your boundaries strong. 1. Keep an emotional journal. Every evening, ask yourself, who made me feel most like myself today? Who made me feel small, guarded, or unsure? Writing builds self-awareness. And awareness is power. 2. Listen to your body. Narcissists might sound great, but your body doesn't lie. A racing heart, stomach knots, shallow breath, these are warning signals. Even without logical proof, unease means something. Trust discomfort, even if you can't explain it. 3. Surround yourself with people who feel like peace. A healthy relationship won't make you guess. It won't feel like a test. You won't need to prove your worth. The right people see it and protect it. Final thought, you're no longer the victim. You're the gatekeeper. Narcissists wear many masks. A charismatic coworker who always undermines. A friend who competes and compares. A partner who came in fast and intense but leaves you feeling hollow. But now you have clarity. You have stoic insight. You have your voice and you have your peace. You don't have to live in fear of falling again. You just have to remember, no one can make you feel inferior unless you let them. In the final chapter of this series, we'll dive deep into how to rebuild your life after narcissistic abuse, not just to survive, but to thrive. If this helped you, comment below. What finally made you realize they weren't the one? And always remember, you're not alone. Rebirth after narcissistic abuse, not just healing, but rising. You made it through the storm, not by screaming back, not by begging, but by walking away, in silence, with strength. And now you stand in a different place, after the pain, after the breakup, after the control. But let's be clear, leaving a narcissist isn't the end. It's the beginning. You don't just need healing, you need rebirth. The wounds a narcissist leaves behind aren't like other wounds. Because they don't just hurt you, they steal your sense of self. You used to be confident. Now you doubt your own feelings. You used to trust your intuition. Now you're afraid it'll mislead you. You used to love who you were. Now you wonder if you're too sensitive or not enough. So the first step isn't forgiveness or letting go. It's to reclaim the real you, piece by piece. Step 1. Identify what was damaged. You can't recover what you don't know you've lost. Ask yourself, what values did I give up just to keep that relationship? How many times did I stay silent to avoid conflict? What parts of myself did I trade in for peace that wasn't real? Write it down. Don't let the truth blur in your head. Putting it on paper helps you see what your heart may still be avoiding. Step 2. Rebuild trust in yourself. Narcissists don't just manipulate emotions. They erode your inner compass. They make you doubt your instincts, hesitate to speak your truth, minimize your own needs. Now it's time to retrain your self-trust muscle, starting small. Try this. Every time you say no to something misaligned, you grow stronger. Every time you catch yourself self-blaming, pause and rewrite the truth. Every day, spend 10 quiet minutes just listening to yourself without judgment. Step 3. Learn to love again. Not someone else, but yourself. Many rush into the next relationship just to escape the last one, but a heart that hasn't healed will keep choosing the same kind of hurt. You need to love yourself so deeply, no one else can define your worth. Self-love isn't spa days, shopping, or comfort food. Self-love is speaking up even when it makes others uncomfortable, saying no to what drains you, holding your values, even if it means being alone. Epictetus once said, "Freedom is not getting what you want, but not being forced to do what goes against you." Step 4. Forgive. Not for them, but for yourself. You might still carry rage, resentment, sadness, or you could set it down, not because they deserve forgiveness, but because you deserve peace. Forgiveness here isn't about letting them off the hook. It's about freeing yourself from their grip on your present. Seneca once wrote, "The strong man isn't the one who feels no pain, but the one who doesn't let pain turn him into someone else." Signs that you're truly rising, you know you're healing when you no longer seek validation. You feel calm when remembering the past. You stop explaining yourself to people who don't want to understand. You smile, not because someone made you happy, but because you've reclaimed your light. But what if they come back? Narcissists often return when they sense you've regained strength. They might say, "I've changed. You're the only one who ever really understood me. Please just give me one more chance." You may feel tempted. You may miss the good moments. You may wonder, what if it's different this time? But remember, they're not coming back because they see your worth. They're coming back because they've lost control over you. And if you let them back in, the nightmare won't end, it'll evolve. One final question. You survived what they did to you. So why risk living it again? For a beautiful lie. This isn't just a video, it's a turning point. If you've made it to this part of the series, pause, reflect, and honor how far you've come. You're no longer the afraid one. You're no longer the pleaser. You are no longer the prey. You've seen the truth, and now you have something they couldn't destroy, your self-respect. Before you go, remember these three truths. 1. You weren't wrong for loving. You just need to love more wisely. 2. Your pain doesn't define you. How you rise does. 3. You deserve a love that doesn't cost you your identity. If this message resonates deep within you, drop a comment. From now on, I choose peace. And if someone you know is trapped in a toxic relationship, share this video with them. Not to rescue them, but to plant a light for when they're ready to see it. You were never born to be controlled. You were born to be free, wishing you strength, clarity, and a future filled with truth. If this journey resonates with you, don't let it stop at just emotion. Hit that subscribe button now so you won't miss future videos that help you reclaim control, rebuild after narcissistic damage, and see the world through a lens of clarity and strength. And I have a question for you in the comments. After everything you've been through, what's the one thing you never want to lose again? Share it, not just to be heard, but to inspire someone else who's silently struggling, just like you once were. You're not alone on this path. Every subscription, every shared story is one more step toward rebuilding trust and peace together.